Now, one of the things that we saw yesterday is, of course, the rand strengthening after the new cabinet ministers were announced by the president. This is something that resulted in even in most stocks ending the day on a green yesterday, because it was starting to impact, or the fact that the cabinet was not yet, or was taking time to be announced, it was dragging the markets and bringing uncertainties to the market, and the stocks were not performing that good, or most stocks or some stocks were not performing that good. But yesterday we saw a lot of stocks showing some recoveries, which is something that is pretty exciting. I mean, the rand also, there was a point in time yesterday where it was almost back at 18 rands against the dollar, which is something that, of course, it was pretty exciting to see. Now, one of the things that, of course, now the market would want to see for it probably to remain stable is the performance now from the ministers, from the deputy ministers that were appointed or that were put to positions in various departments, which is something that, of course, we still look forward to that, and I hope we see the great performance from the appointed cabinet ministers by the president. So we look forward to that, and that, ladies and gents, is one of the things that resulted in the markets yesterday to react the way they were, which, like I said, things like this or have influence for a short term. Long term, you will still need your company still needs to perform, still needs to grow in terms of revenue they generate. Profitability needs to continue being better, which is something that it's also very important. Now, you will know that one of the things that we continue struggling as a country when you look into our economy is the high inflation environment that we are still in. You will know that the SA Reserve Bank's target for inflation is around 3 to 6%, and now it appears that the SA Reserve Bank is advising on government to say they must reconsider this and bring the inflation target to at least be at 3%, because countries that are similar to South Africa, their inflation targets are around this point, which therefore he believes that if they are targeting an average of 4.5% inflation, then that won't be good to SA's economy, because like I said, countries that are benchmarked with South Africa, their inflation is around 3%, and therefore he feels that they should strive to get to 3% and not the previous 4%, which therefore this might mean that interest rates might not come down very soon, because the Reserve Bank is busy proposing that at least they strive or fight for inflation to come to 3%. You will know that as you and me are working our 9 to 5, when it's time, or that time of the year where we get an increase, we expect our companies, our bosses, to increase our salaries by at least a figure that beats inflation, which, as it stands, inflation right now is at 5.2%. So anything over 5.2% I think is acceptable, but anything below 5.2 percent is not acceptable, because inflation then, or it won't be able to cover the cost of living that we are currently in as a country. So 3%, SA Reserve Bank believes that it is a proper, or it is a decent figure, because that don't even put pressure even to companies. Companies can still increase their salaries on the employees by 4%, and because inflation would be still at 3%, it will still be acceptable, because they will be beating inflation. He said that if they are targeting 4.5, then it means that they will have to increase salaries by at least that 4.5, which is something that they said that some companies might struggle to do that. So their target right now, they're proposing that we target inflation to come to 3%, so that at least we can compete to the other countries that are benchmarked as us. So what does this mean into the stock market? It means that chances are very high that if this gets approved, interest rates won't come down as soon as we expect this year, but rather maybe we might start seeing interest rates coming down next year, as the Reserve Bank is now striving to get inflation to 3%. So it means that even for the companies that we invest in, the growth, or the kind of growth that we want, might come at a later stage next year, or we might start seeing the results of interest rates being cut, having a positive outcomes on the companies that we invest in next year and not this year, because right now, as I said, they are fighting that inflation gets to 3%. and not 4.5%. But like I said, this is still a proposal that I believe it still needs to be discussed and approved. But if it gets approved, then that is the worst case scenario. But if it does not get approved, then chances are high that end of this year we are going to see interest rates figures coming down, which will be so great, of course, to see that. But again, we need to be cautious of inflation, I think, because if it's not properly handled, the issue of inflation, it might once again skyrocket and go up over the target that the SA Reserve Bank wants. So I hope things get better with time. I hope inflation can continue dropping from that 5.2 which is currently at right now. Otherwise, that's all from me. I just thought I'd just give you this quick update. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. That's all from me. And I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey. And God bless you all.